welcome everybody to this week's committee poll. Yes, this is a brand new series I'm starting here at the end of every season. Hopefully I'll get it started quicker next year. But I will go through and have a few of my friends and my father come help me with a poll that we made together. It is in the same style as like the AP poll or the CFP poll, where you get a bunch of different voters. They have each different polls, and then they average all the rankings together of all the teams, because like first to 25, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Now, let's just get started and into it. Let's recap all the teams really quickly. So why don't I go over my poll first? Now, I talked about this in the Dude Poll video, which you can find on my YouTube channel, or up there, if I remember to do that in editing, where I'm just going to go over all these really quickly. Number 1's Ohio State, 2 is Indiana, 3 is Texas Tech, 4 is Georgia, 5 is Ole Miss, 6 Oregon, 7 BYU, 8 Texas A&M, 9 Notre Dame, 10 Miami, 11 Vanderbilt, 12 Alabama, 13 James Madison, 14 Utah, 15 Oklahoma, 16 Texas, 17 USC, 18 Tulane, 19 North Texas, 20 USF, 21 Arizona, 22 Michigan, 23 Virginia, 24 SMU, and 25 Tennessee. Now with that, that's my poll. Let's kick it over to some of the other guys, where we'll start with Caleb from CN Sports Clips. Noah will be in this one too, but his poll varies very differently the farther to the bottom we go, where you can see the bottom 4 teams, Duke, Louisville, Illinois, and Florida State. I don't have a single one of them in any of my honorable mentions, where just he has them 22 through 25. These are all good teams, I get that. Just, I would not personally have them this high in the rankings. But his decision, I can't argue with that. Another team I want to look at is Vanderbilt at number 10 in the rankings. That's pretty high in my opinion for a team like Vandy. But, I mean, it's also warranted at the same time. I feel like they should be in the playoffs, and in his model, they are, in fact, the last team in. And finally, you can look at Alabama being a lot lower on average than the average person, you know. At number 12, actually missing the playoffs in his model. And what he was telling me was that the way that they've just been so inconsistent in the way that they've been playing, they just aren't worthy of that, and I get that too. So that's Caleb. Let's go to the other part of CN Sports Clips, Noah. And you can see with Noah, he took a lot of fun liberties with this poll, where you can see, yet again, 4 teams I don't even have anywhere close to my rankings at the bottom. Duke, Kansas State, Louisville, and Florida State being in the bottom 4. Now, oddly enough, only one of the teams differed between the two, and that's Kansas State and Illinois. But, you know, I can understand where these come from. Kansas State, I don't know. But maybe go ask him on his YouTube channel. You can see teams like Texas Tech being 7, maybe a little lower than the average Bear. Michigan being pretty high at 15. I mean, I get that. They're a good team. Just, I never found the strength to believe in them because of how inconsistent they are. And then you can see BYU, Vanderbilt, Miami, back to back to back. Interesting group of teams there. It's odd, in my opinion, to not have Miami above Notre Dame if they're all going to be this squished together, is what he was talking about. But I guess I get it, too, with how Miami's was not playing the best in the month of October. So that is the other half of CN Sports Clips. We are halfway through the rankings. So let's go to a very special guest to me. And that is my father. My father made a poll with me. Is that not awesome? Where he has, you know, a fairly similar poll to me. Where you can see, there's a few teams that got traded in, like Missouri, Georgia Tech, and Navy. And I understand all of those. I've just been looking at Georgia Tech's you know, how they've fallen off as a recent. Missouri's lack of a, key win, and Navy just being just there, it seems. He has Texas at 12, and Texas at 12, to me, may be a little more extreme than I would have personally done it. Now, Texas is a good team and all. I understand that, but Texas has 3 losses, and they're above a bunch of teams with 1 or 2 losses that, you know, I would consider better, like BYU and Miami and Utah, who have been more consistent and have shown higher peaks than Texas. He also has Virginia fairly high at 15. I don't know if that's Virginia being the ACC title game, but I kind of understand his logic just a little bit. And then finally, we got two of my friends that I've had for a long time. We got Luke, and Luke decided to make his poll by, basically copying mine. Very similar. Very similar. I mean, you got Missouri at 25. That was just another pop in the poll. James Madison. Now, as you may see from my poll in comparison to the rest, I am astronomically high on them. I have James Madison at 13, which may be a little surprising to people. I mean, with the other polls, you can see they average from like 17 to 19. I get that. Vanderbilt, Miami. He actually does put Miami over Notre Dame, respecting that head-to-head. That's pretty cool. Vanderbilt would be the first team out, and Miami would be the second. I understand this poll. I've very similar to mine. I understand where he's coming from all this. So, I mean, nothing else sticks out to me. I mean, Utah. Oh yeah, you might see the differences from some of the polls. 1 and 2. Oddly enough, it was always Indiana and Ohio State at number 2 and number 1. Just the order, it depended. You can see later in the official committee rankings that it got pretty interesting. So how about that? It is pretty fun to see teams like Ohio State, and Indiana, who have shown that they're really great, being back-to-back with so many different polls. Finally, we got Eli, which is actually Luke's brother. You can see he actually has Tulane as his G5 favorite. He's actually the only voter yet put Tulane as his G5 representative at this point in time. He has Texas pretty high at 12. Again, we can see that. A different mishmash from 1 to 7 stays pretty similar. Other than that, pretty run-of-the-mill. I mean, Virginia at 17, USC at 16. That makes sense. Everyone seems to run that. And then you have, Georgia Tech at 21. I understand that. So it's a pretty run-of-the-mill poll outside of the Tulane and JMU flip, it almost looks like. But it's a pretty good poll, I will say that. Respects the Miami over Notre Dame head-to-head and the BYU over Utah head-to-head there, too. Now, with that being said, you may be wondering, well, what now? I've gone through all 6 voters. My dad, me, Noah, Caleb, Luke, and Eli. Guess it's time to have the official committee poll. Yes, we are going to average all of those rankings together. If there is a tie in, the points, which we will award by, first gets 25, yada, 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 25 gets 1. If there's a tie, whoever has the highest ranking out of any of the polls, so, Tulane and Texas tie, but Tulane's 13th in one poll, and Texas is 18th in the other poll, Tulane would get the edge since they have the higher peak. Now, it's time to average them out to get your official committee poll. So let's just take a look here at it really quickly. Yeah, you can see the averages and stuff. You can see some of the teams getting weighted by their big performances in some of the polls. Let's just go from the top down. Indiana and Ohio State tied. Dead tie. They both were number 1 3 times, and they both were number 2 3 times. 3 plus 3 is 6, meaning that they had exactly matching polls. And I could not give you a tiebreaker. I wasn't going to do my number 1. That didn't feel fair at all to me. So I kept as a tie as number 1. So, listeners, tell me how to break ties like that, please, because I don't know beyond that. You find, let's go down, you see Georgia at 3. Pretty, out of that posse from Georgia, Oregon, Texas A&M, Texas Tech, Ole Miss, they were the clear team that stood out above the rest, apparently. Oregon at 4, and then Texas A&M and Texas Tech had a tie, but this time Texas A&M had the tiebreaker over T-Tech. You got Ole Miss at number 7, and then you see kind of a steep drop-off. It's kind of like clusters, I'd say. There's an Indiana-Ohio State cluster. Those 5 are in a cluster. And Oklahoma and Alabama and Notre Dame all were in a cluster. And then after that, it was just a train wreck. You'd see, Virginia and USC, but otherwise, find something. Let's just keep going down in order. Oklahoma, pretty steep drop-off from Ole Miss, down by 20 points or that. Since there's only a max of 150, it's pretty staunch to have a 20-point drop. And now, I know you can't see this because it's kind of small, but what I did is, on my screen, I'm going to read out to you what the numbers were of votes from Oklahoma number 8 to Utah number 15. Oklahoma was 8th and they got 100 votes. Number 9 we had Alabama with 94 votes. 10 we had Notre Dame with 93. 11 we had BYU with 92. 12 we had Vanderbilt with 89. 13 we had Miami with 83. 14 we had Texas with 72. 15 we had Utah with 69. Now, if we exclude Utah, you would have a range from 100 to 72. Now, if you do the math on that, that is, within 28 points, there are 7 teams. That's an average gap of 4 points. That's only 4 total ranking spots moving. And that's really only like a switch between 2 of the teams on 2 different polls, and they're tied. Which is insane to me how close everyone is. Like, sure, above that, Ole Miss with 122 is like 40 or 50 points ahead of Texas. And, I mean, they're going to be safe, basically. But just how close they are, especially with teams like Texas, who have come on strong, BYU, who's been really under the radar, Miami, and Notre Dame. Interestingly enough, Notre Dame did get the edge over Miami head-to-head. I don't know if we respected that enough. I don't know. But even if you do include Utah from that range, I will say, that is only 31 points as well. That's 8 teams, 31 points. Less than 4 points per gap this time. This is pretty close. And at this rate, you have, like, BYU in the conference title game. They could shoot all the way up. You have, like, Notre Dame. Maybe people sour their opinions on them. They go down. Alabama in the SEC championship game. What if they lose? It's only 2 points to fall to number 11, and that's out. There is a 1-point gap separating in and out. And the first team up on that is 2 points ahead of the bubble. The first team below BYU is only 3 or 4 points below the bubble. We are so close here on this range that, I had to spend a whole lot of time just talking about that. Now, I will go over the order one more time because you may not know. I mean, the graphic is still there, but I feel like it's helpful. Back to the actual poll, we have USC and Virginia at 16 and 17. They almost always seem to be matched together at these rankings. Quite fitting that they were there. Then you have 18, which was a tie broken by James Madison and Michigan. My 13th place on James Madison broke the tie against them and Michigan, moving James Madison to 18, Michigan to 19. 20, we have North Texas. 21, we had a tie between Tulane and Arizona. The Tulane that was number 18, I believe, was the tie-breaking vote for that. 23, we have Tennessee. 24, Georgia Tech. And 25, in a tie with the first team out, was Missouri because of their ranking that was pretty high at like 21 for, I believe, like Eli had them pretty high. And as I said, other teams receiving votes. Duke with 8, lost out on that tiebreaker. USF with 6, Louisville with 5 votes, Navy with 4 votes, Kansas State with 3 votes, SMU with 2 votes, Illinois with 2 votes, and Florida State with 2 votes. Yeah, you can see that most of these teams were just teams that were just tagged along from the 22 to 25 range. Not a whole lot of variation there so far. Now, tell me how this went. That's the committee poll. Tell me how much you like this, and if this should stay for the end of next year's season. I'm going to do one also after the conference championship game. It's kind of a busy schedule with me with midterms and all that, but I'll figure it out because I need YouTube videos for y'all to enjoy. And I guess that's the end of the video. Happy holidays, y'all. You can see the Christmas hat I'm wearing. And until I see you next time, I'll be out and about in the world or in the next YouTube video. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, y'all. God bless.